The Joyful Three. Rob, Mia and Cassie were all 5 years old, coming from different backgrounds, different families, but all growing up in the same neighborhood. Rob was an only child and his parents were running a successful hotel based at the center of the town. Mia had 2 older brothers and 1 younger sister. Her father was a businessman and her mother spent her time at home taking care of the children and the household. Cassie was living with her father. She did not know her mother, but many women passed by as a result of her dad's consistent dating adventures. Her dad was a teacher at the local high school. The 3 children were often playing together outside. They would run, play, laugh like most other 5-year-olds would do. In each other's presence, they felt safe, joyful, and very free. When they all would return home, each of them would instantly feel a little less safe. Mia in particular, as a result of returning to a house full of siblings, would also feel a lot less free. Let's describe the scenarios of what would happen with each of them when they got home. When Rob's father picks him up at the park and they walk home together, Rob feels super energized and joyful. He grabs his dad's hand and feels the love for his father. He smiles at his dad and expresses how much fun he has had today, hoping to share his joy with him. Rob's dad is fully present with him, smiles back and provides all the space for Rob to tell his story. As they approach the house, however, Rob can sense a great part of his dad's presence fading, as if it moves up and out of him. Rob does not know why and instantly feels he needs to tone down his excitement to take care of his father. Intuitively, Rob feels there is no more presence and therefore less space for him to just be. His mother is walking around in the living room, clearly stressed and agitated. She is a loving mother and most of the time quite cheerful, which makes Rob often feel happy. However, when she has had a long shift, she needs a few hours to calm down. So today, Rob feels it is best to go to his room and play alone for a while. By this time, Cassie and Mia are getting ready to leave the playground as well. Mia's mother will take Cassie home first. When they walk into Cassie's street, they see Cassie's father just getting out of his car in front of the house. Cassie calls him, but as he is just sticking his head back into the car at the passenger seat, gathering his bag and some paperwork spread out on top, he cannot hear her. By the time he comes back out, his hands holding all his stuff, Cassie is already standing in front of him. He greets her with a smile and thanks Mia's mother for bringing her home. Cassie and Mia wave goodbye, while Mia's mother shuts the car door as Mia's brother attempts to get in. Cassie grabs her dad's pants as they walk up to the front door. When they walk inside, Cassie's dad drops the paperwork and his bag on the table. He lays his hands on Cassie's head and asks her if she had fun at the park today. Cassie closes her eyes, enjoying the feeling of her dad's hands on her head, and softly answers, "It was fun, Daddy," while she cuddles his leg. Her dad continues to talk to her while he walks to the kitchen to prepare them dinner. Cassie keeps following him around, while not really replying to the questions asked. She feels a bit dreamy, and all she wants right now is to stay close to her dad. As she keeps following him around, making it hard for him to gather all the things he needs for preparing dinner, he decides to ask her if she wants to help. Cassie smiles and says, "Yes." She thinks helping her dad will guarantee his presence and attention for at least a little while longer. When they sit down to eat, Cassie's dad scrolls down his phone, and she feels she is losing him. So after having been quiet since she got home, now she starts to tell her dad stories about some of the things that happened today. It works. Her dad slides his phone aside and engages in the conversation. Still, instinctively, Cassie feels some sort of threat hanging in the air, as if even though she got her dad's attention back, it did not work well enough somehow. So she keeps talking and talking, fearing that once she stops, this unidentifiable threat will win. After a while, her dad tells her she should also eat, looking at her plate that is still almost fully filled with food. So while Cassie shuffles a couple of spoons in, they are both silent for about 30 seconds. Then suddenly her dad starts speaking. Cassie does not look at him because she knows he's gonna hurt her now. He goes on, Grandma will come over in an hour and she will put you to bed tonight. Cassie frowns and all she feels is anger. She says, Why, Daddy? I want you to bring me to bed. All the words coming out of her dad's mouth now feel like fireballs, adding to this big, angry fire she feels inside and around her. She knows she has lost. There's nothing she can do about it. The house looks hostile now, empty of love. Her dad does not even want to be with her. In the meantime, Mia is also sitting at the dinner table at her house, and as mostly, dinner is quite chaotic. Her mother is trying to get her younger sister to eat, while her brothers are kicking each other underneath the table. Mia is trying to ignore all of it. While slowly eating and dreaming away, she shuffles her food from one side of the plate to the other, contemplating when she will take her next bite. Then, out of nowhere, her mother shouts at the boys to stop kicking each other, followed by telling Mia in a sharp and agonized tone she needs to finish her plate and stop playing with her food. Mia feels shocked as she was slightly dreaming. She does not understand what she did wrong. Her sister is crying and pushing her food away. Her brothers are fighting, while she, even though slowly, was in fact eating her food in the midst of all this chaos. She feels it is unfair, but learns to not complain in moments like these. By the time dinner is over, Mia feels exhausted and overwhelmed. But she wants to end the day with fun, not chaos. So she asks her mom if she can play in the garden. When Mia walks outside, she sits on the swing. She waves her legs up and down to get the seat to swing back and forward. She can hear her sister screaming in the background and decides to swing harder. A minute later, her two brothers also walk out in the garden. They start to play soccer and the ball is flowing through the garden. The whole garden is the boys' soccer field. And when the ball hits Mia the third time, she shouts at her brothers to stop playing there. In the meantime, Mia sees her dad walking into the house. He waves at them and Mia smiles and starts swinging again. If I show that I'm having fun, he will see I am a good daughter, she thinks. But then the ball hits her on the back of her head again. Mia is shocked, jumps off the swing, shouts at the boys and storms into the house. While her mom and dad are talking, she tells them what happened. Her dad says, "That is not nice of them, come here." Mia feels relieved, but then her mother says to her father, "She is just tired." Mia feels a shock of pain in her heart. Mom is blaming me while all I have done is be good all day. I'm tired? No, you are all driving me crazy, she feels deep down. Then her mom and dad start to talk about how bad all the kids were behaving at dinner, as if Mia's not even there. Mia glides out of her dad's arms, walks to a corner of the living room, where she sits down, grabs a coloring book, and starts to vigorously color in a picture of a bear smelling a flower. One day, 2 years later, when they are all 7 years old, the three sit in a circle on the grass trying to agree on what game they want to play. Suddenly, Rob stares into the distance and says, "Do you also feel when you are at home sometimes like you have to be more careful about what you say or do?" Mia directly replies, "Yes." and Cassie does not quite understand, so she says, "What do you mean?" Rob, now looking the girls in the eyes, explains, "Well, when we are here, for example, we can just have fun. I always feel free and do not have to be careful. When we want to run, we run. We laugh sometimes, we scream, we tease each other, but never too much. And when we get angry or cry, it always is just for a moment. But when I am home, it often feels different, different inside. It feels like something is coming, and if I'm not careful, I mess it up and I make it come." Now Cassie gets it, and she says, "Ah yes, I know that feeling of something coming. Then I try to be really sweet, and when it does not help, I don't know what I did wrong." Mia jumps in and says, "Yes, and even when I try to be sweet, it does not feel right. It feels like I have to become invisible. Everyone else is so loud at my house, so I'm only sweet when I'm quiet." Now Rob leans a bit forward and says, "Yesterday when it happened, I felt the feeling inside, and then I heard a voice. It was saying, 'You are right, Rob. You don't have to feel like this. The joyful feeling you feel when you are with Mia and Cassie is the normal feeling. So what do you think? Is the voice right? And is the joy we feel when we are here together normal? And the strange feeling inside and around at home sometimes is not?' Mia says, 'Yes, I feel it in my belly. I always feel it is not normal when this happens at my house. I think the voice is right.' Cassie is still somewhat cautious. She also feels a sparkle in her belly hearing all this, but at the same time she feels a cramp in her heart. She loves her father so much, and instinctively she can feel that if she agrees on all this, the cramp in her heart will get stronger. Mia grabs Cassie's hand and tells her, "Maybe if you do not feel it at your house, you feel it when you go home with me. When we ask my mother something but she's busy with the boys or my sister and she gets a bit angry, then you often say, 'Let's just go do something else,' Then we are often a little bit quiet before we start to play and feel happy again." Cassie feels it is safe to agree with this one, so says, "Yes, we feel a little confused and I feel a little bit scared." All three kids pause for a bit when Rob says, "So we feel at these moments we are either doing something wrong, even when it does not feel that way, or we feel we have to be careful and cannot be free or joyful like we are when we are together." Cassie adds, "Yes, or it feels like we have to hide parts of ourselves, and then it is hard to breathe. It feels like we are then punishing ourselves a little." Rob now stands up with a determination that the girls never have seen in him before. "I think the voice is right. What if we all do it differently? We all write down when we feel the joy needed to go away or hide, or when we got punished for it, and then we talk about it together to see how we can do it differently." "Yes," Mia says, while also standing up in one straight movement. "It will be our secret club." Now Cassie jumps up too, with such power her feet come off the ground for a second. "We call it the Joyful Three." The rest of that afternoon, the three children spent in a lot of joy, as usual. Only this time there is a precious silence underneath, as if they have uncovered a fragile membrane underneath the earth they are walking on. A membrane that is invisible, but is vibrating and supporting them and their secret club. They all feel like there's something that has heard them and is willing to help them too, even though it cannot speak. In the months that follow, the Joyful Three holds many meetings, about twice a week. They uncover a lot of moments in which feelings of having to hide the joy, or others taking them out of the joy, or getting punished for their joy, or them having to protect the joy, or feeling a threat in the air. They also notice that it is easiest to stay in joy when the people around them are too, so they still struggle on how to change this. After the fourth month, they make an important discovery. In their meeting, they make a list of solutions they came up with so far to stay in joy when one of the situations mentioned occurs. Number 1, make a funny face. Number 2, open a window to get space from the outside in the house. Number 3, make the others more joyful. Number 4, sing a song. And number 5, eat a joy candy. No, these were no drugs. The joyful 3 gathered some candy, divided it equally over 3 little cans Rob got from the hotel. Then they put a spell on it that turned each candy into a magic one that would return joy when eaten. Mia starts to share and says, number 1, 2 and 4 sometimes work a little. But my brothers found the can of joy candy yesterday and ate all of them. It made me feel very angry and sad because I don't like it that someone else can just take my joy. So I don't need new ones. With number 3, make others more joyful, I discovered a feeling that does not belong to joy. Because when I try to do it, it feels I lose a little bit of my joy, or I feel even more pain when someone then gets angry or agonized. Yes, I know that feeling, Cassie says. So maybe we should change that one, Mia says. What about if we close our eyes when others are not joyful and say 3 times, it is not our fault if someone else is not joyful. That sounds nice, Cassie says. I don't know if it will work yet, but I will try. Rob agrees to the change as he feels in his belly this could be good for him too. He also adds, maybe instead of the candy we can use something else. Something nobody can take away from us. When I feel like I need to pull back my joy a little, it feels like it goes into my belly. Inside, just underneath the belly button. So maybe instead of the candy, we can put our hands there to remember the joy that we have is still here. More months pass and the joyful 3 start to notice more freedom and more joy. They don't have to hold back as much, pull their joy in as much, or defend their joy as much. Even though around others it can still be hard, it feels as if the effect of it is less strong. When they get together on a Wednesday afternoon, Cassie cannot sit still and says, "Let me start today." Mia and Rob smile, and Cassie goes on. Yesterday, something really great happened. I got home after dinner at the hotel with Rob, and when I walked in the house, Dad was standing in the kitchen with a woman. I saw he wanted to tell me who she was, but before I could think of it, I felt a joyful feeling in my belly grow and surround my whole body. And I said, I just got back from dinner with Rob and I don't want to meet her right now. Then I walked up to my room and I still felt a bubble. It felt as if I was surrounded by warmth, color, joy and a sort of softness. It felt the same as the vibration in the earth we felt when we started the Joyful 3. Only now I felt I was that vibration. Mia and Rob listened to her every word when Rob says, "The same thing happened to me." I actually felt it when you were here, Cassie. We were in that bubble together. When you left, my parents both had to rush to do some work in the hotel, and I was left alone in the lobby. But I did not feel lonely. I was just sitting there and looking at the people passing. It felt so peaceful and I did not need to do anything. When my dad took me home, at first his presence was far away again. But when we were sitting on the couch, he looked at me and gave me a hug. Then we just sat in the bubble together for a while. When Mom got home, she was stressed again, but it did not hurt me as much. It made me a bit sad for her, but me and Dad were both still in our bubbles. Wow, Mia says. I don't know what is happening, but I had the same too. At dinner, when there was a lot of chaos again, I also felt a bubble growing. I did feel a bit annoyed about the boys being loud, but it was as if I could feel a part of them that was still. The noise did not hit me as hard. I asked them to be a bit more quiet and they actually listened. We started a conversation, and after a while, one of the boys started to tease me. It felt a bit like he tried to make the bubble pop, but it didn't. It could not be popped. That is how the joyful three found the unlimited source of unconditional love and life force within them.